Let's dive on into the action. In the bottom right-hand side, our blue Protoss player is Zoun from Korea, and Alpha X, of course, as we get this one started up. Taking on the red Terran in the upper left-hand side. It is Mousesport's HeroMarine. So, excited about this TvP because obviously I think HeroMarine is always one of the plays which has been, especially lately, he was being very, on top of his game and improving still as well, right? He still can't quite break the top of Europe, it feels like, with Cyril and Raynor, and I feel like Clem is easier for him to beat than Cyril and Raynor, so I don't really want to list him there, but he's absolutely like the EU, what I would say the EU top 5, right? So, HeroMarine, Clem, Showtime, Raynor, and Cyril. For me, though, they are the EU top 5, and HeroMarine is definitely in this place in those rankings. It's just he definitely can't quite cut the top 3 yet, but he's getting there, right? Like, he is consistently improving, and his run at Katowice really kind of spoke volumes about how his play has been improving as well. And I think especially just how good he can be in TvP, how deadly he can be, right? Some of the timers he can hit, very scary to play against. Chris, he knows when to pull the SCVs. I mean, I was watching on the mainstream yesterday him playing against Gung Fu Banda, and the guy was losing. Like, he was dead. Game was done. It was like, he was over. And the SCV pull comes in, he just takes, like, the right fight that he needs. Like, nothing else is really going to save him. But the fight he managed to find somehow was just good enough. And that's the magic of HeroMarine and TvP. It's kind of crazy to, it's kind of crazy to kind of go in and see kind of him just sort of like demolish Protoss plays. And it happens every week in the ESL Weekly. His builds are just like his timings are just so crisp. And even when he got figured out, because it was about a year ago when he was in the ESL Open Cups, right? And he is doing so well, and he really did just keep showing up. And, in the first season of DreamHack Masters, he just kind of stomped every Protoss because his timings were just so good. But he got figured out, and he had to reinvent his style a little bit, and he absolutely did that in a marvelous fashion. Because he started to go for all of this heavy multi-pronged drop play. He just played faster. And in playing faster, he also played way better. So, credit to HeroMarine, playing a pretty fantastic set of TvP lately. As we do see, there's Adept is gonna be with the second Adept now, gonna keep on pressuring. Actually shades that one by. I think that's a mistake. I don't think that Adept's meant to be there. I think it's meant to be over here, easier to save. Now this Adept's in some trouble. Don't tell me they both get away. Hellion gets one. The other is actually not shaded that far away, so if the Hellion wanted to go chase, risky though, because if there was another unit out there, it might not have a good time, so it'll get repaired up first. Okay, well that was a bit of a fiasco, because I don't think Zoun was meant to shade that Adept so deep in, and that really just made everything else so much more complicated. These two Adepts going to shade back down to the front. They're just going to be hanging out over here for the moment. There's a little Hellion kind of driving by. There's that blink on the way up on the Twilight Council as well, so bringing that into play. More Prism coming through. As we will see, this medevac of HeroMarine starting to make its way out down to the lower right-hand side. So going to bring itself across for a little bit of potential damage. This Widowmine Marine drop that we so often see. Obviously, we see this one a pretty regular amount of the time. It's pretty popular, to say the least. Very standard, right? Just a big go-to in the matchup as Zoun kind of moving out of the way. So a little bit out of position here to defend this. He's going to load up a couple of Adepts into the Prism. Has to get into this main base, though. What did he actually load into the Prism? Because the Adepts are still here. So was that a couple of Stalkers he loaded up? I think it was, yeah. He actually wants to go across the map and get aggressive. He is on 4 gateways. Have been a little bit bad at not really looking at what the Protoss player is really doing here. So he's on the 4 gateways. He absolutely wants to get across this map and fight. HeroMarine now has to find some preparation against this. And again, I didn't get to watch, obviously, all the mainstream yesterday. I was streaming myself. I heard he did not have the best of defenses against a 4-gate blink yesterday. So let's see If Zoun can find that same weakness, he double bunkers at the front. He's got a second siege tank on the way. He's got a line of defense in the form of this Sim City of just, structures. As you see, Stalker's going to actually just drop into the main. He's not even going for the full frontal attack here, Zoun. He's actually just going to go for the little bit of Stalker harass to start us off, and then other Stalkers starting to show up. Yeah, but he's not really warping in or anything. What's he actually building behind this? Third Nexus starts already. It's a pretty fast third off of a 4-gate blink. So I definitely think Zoun here says, okay, I've been held back a little bit too long. I've been delayed. Larger attack not going to work. Let's just go and try, let's just try and pick up whatever I can, with a little bit of Stalker harass, and then go from there and play that out. I can get behind that as a few Stalkers move over to the left-hand side. You see the Stalkers blinking up, looking pretty good as... Well, then they run back through the siege tank and it doesn't look as good. I like the idea of moving around and trying to be active, but obviously you don't want to be throwing away units or anything. 4 more Stalkers on the way in. Head back to the top side. The few Stalkers here are going to make their way in towards the main. And start to unload and Marine to be taken down. Now Stalker's going to go blink on top of the siege tank. Doesn't actually get that kill, so siege tank just survives in the main base, while Zoun is just not finding anything here. As behind this, of course, third base is up and the charge is on the way, also making his way to Colossus, but yeah, I'm a little worried because these are the sort of scenarios where HeroMarine is about to get all the upgrades, unsiege the tanks, and move across the map, and those are the kind of games where HeroMarine sort of just wins out of nowhere so often, and you're like, wait a second, but this wouldn't really be out of nowhere. Like, he's had such a good defense against the Stalkers. He's not going to go for it. He's actually just going to put 8 Marines in a medevac and use those to harass at the moment. Remember that he is on a 3rd CC. It's just in the main base, so we'll still have to find time to float out and take its position. Doesn't need to be just yet. I mean, if you take your third around 8-9 minutes as a Terran, it's typically okay in this matchup, especially when the Protoss 3rd base only came up about 5.5. It was 5:45 of 6 minutes or so, right? So it's not been up forever. In fact, it's a relatively new addition, so in that regard, HeroMarine is actually in a pretty good setup as well. And as soon as he takes the 3rd base, he's already got the work count to really saturate it as well. Marines drop into the main. We're just going to be seeing them stepping forward and going after a few of these Stalkers. First one goes down. Another couple in some trouble. Probe's going to pull in and just going to be seeing the Bio Army continue to chase up to the top sides of chasing those Stalkers away. Stalkers blink forward. Going to be seeing the medevac taking some extra shots there. But now HeroMarine is still pushing down the right-hand side. These few Stalkers going to take some damage. Bio units stimming in, and Stalkers having to fall back a little bit. Widowmine's going to get burrowed up, and will go off on Zealots as Zoun blinks in on this. I mean, interference matrix hits the Colossus. 2 auto turrets as well. I kind of like the start of this with Zoun, but then very quickly didn't become something he wanted to continue fighting, right? So he backs off. But HeroMarine probably can't push back in either, right? Still 2 Colossi here, only 1 tank, so just not enough splash damage to remove those. Zoun about to get into +1 attack upgrade. He's got the Prism here already. He's actually going to go for a fight on this 3rd base. What's HeroMarine got? Well, reinforcements are kind of up the ramp as well, so they're a little out of position to begin with. It's got a good amount of Zealots. If he warps Zealots into the main base, I'd love it. Because that's when you really get to be in the real kind of power play here, right? Because then you're going to force HeroMarine to react to Zealots, and then maybe you get pushing power on the 3rd, but it feels like Zoun is kind of doubting his ability to get much done, so he's just going to back it up. He's going to go back home. Isn't going to look to take this fight just yet. He's got new Colossi already out, and he'll just go pick that up. Second Robo coming down. We expect the follow-up here to be Disruptors, of course. It's the kind of standard go-to nowadays when it comes to tech choices, as we do see the little bit of bio from HeroMarine joined up in the center. He has Zealots, Stalkers, Colossi moving through the middle. The Zealot starts to chase down that Marauder for a moment, and have a moment or so of looking kind of at each other and thinking about what they're about to do. Prism pulls back away through the top side. Zoun gets a Nexus down. I mean, he's going to look to defend, but now I mean, HeroMarine's obviously had that macro behind this, and he's been building up. Zoun kind of commits in, and he's like, wait a second, no, I don't want to. Interference Matrix on the Colossus, it's taking a lot of damage. HeroMarine's stepping forward, and there's just not the Zealot count here that's needed. Finally, we're going to see some Zealots countering at least, but I have to check in on those in a moment as HeroMarine just comes straight through. Fourth base is in trouble. Zoun obviously cannot come down the ramp into this at all, so he's just in trouble there. This probe goes down. The Zealots on the other side don't do anything. They're just going to get shut down with, real ease. So they get shut down. Vikings still firing away, and kind of looking as though we've got ourselves a wrapped up game number 1, because this Colossus goes down. Vikings are even going to land. This just all went wrong from Zoun. He just couldn't take a fight at any point. Obviously, again, I look back to this and I will say once again, you kind of really failed with the 4-gate blink. That was not good. You need to do better than that. Which is obviously nice. As we dive on in to this second best of 3 of the day, we'll start on the upper right-hand side with Protoss player who is unfortunately finding himself down in the series. In the blue, this is Zoun. Taking on the red Terran in the bottom left-hand side as he leads 1-0. This is HeroMarine. Alright, so again, that's all set up and ready to go. Zoun, second game. Okay, I think one of the things you can look at here is I think you really kind of got to come through and say, right, all in that game, if I open up aggressively, I need to be more successful with it. It's kind of a nice game to kind of lose in a way, and it sounds stupid, but let me explain myself. It's a nice game to lose because in theory, you look at that game and you said, well, I lost it with the Blink Stalker opening. I lost it when I tried to play 4-gate Blink, and I was just hugely unsuccessful. I didn't attack on time, I didn't even then attack properly. So this game becomes easy because at least now you can reset and say, okay, well, I can get off to a better start. I also think I say that, but there's also points of that last game which I will stand by. I really think the best opportunity he had was to attack and hit Zealots in the main base. And what did he do? He just backed it up. To do what? Get rolled a minute later because HeroMarine's economy is way better, because his army's way better, because you've just let him build up all game? As Zoun, you need to be able to identify the way the game is going. When the game doesn't go the way you expect it to, sometimes you need to be able to say, right, that's not right. What's my best chance? And to be able to pick that out of the hat and say, right, this is it. Because backing away wasn't it? Absolutely not. You backing away, you've still only got Colossi, he's got Vikings and a Raven up. It's kind of wild, especially when you consider nowadays, when people have Colossi, people don't get Vikings until Colossus production is long done, right? That's just the way the game kind of works. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. Kind of crazy. Alright, Twilight in the Robo facility. On the way up from Zoun, as we do have the Adept of Zoun making his way into the Natural. Gets to the ramp, just looking for some information at the moment. The Reaper and the Hellion going to hold out. We're going to go 4-gate Blink again. So I'm going to do the same thing a second time. This time around. Reaper 2 Hellions heading up to the top side. It's going to see the probe coming over to get ready to kind of fake a third base, right? So put a pylon down. Here comes the Prism. This is absolutely going to be aggression, but Yeah, the idea of a probe piling over here. Maybe HeroMarine sees that. Maybe he's like, oh, well, expanding, question mark. Let's see what his defense looks like as another Hellion or two joins up. So we're going to have 4 Hellions, sorry, 3 Hellions on the map with the Reaper. Going to go in the medevac, and this is one of those things where if you lose units or you have to warp in units at home again now, it's just going to slow down the attack, right? So HeroMarine's going to hit before Zoun can hit. The weakness of this from HeroMarine is always going to be that, defensively speaking, he's going to be worse set up than if he just gotten into like 1 Hellion or so and straight into tank production. He gets 7 workers to start. The only thing I'll say is that this does get cleaned up pretty quick, so now maybe Zoun can get across the map. He's going to go with the first 4 Stalkers. First tank isn't up yet, so there's absolutely potential here. He needs to bring everything else across the map, though. He needs to start getting everything together. He's going to warp into this main base as well. No? He should warp into the main. Sorry, I feel like I'm making a lot of executive calls like, he should do this, he should do that, but right now he's flowing money. If he warped into this main base, he could absolutely fight these Marines in the tank very easily. And then, I don't disagree, like, he's gone some SCVs, but I feel like there was more potential there. And how late is this warp in? You've basically missed an entire warp in cycle. So now you've just got spare money going. I mean, third base, yeah. And you're not meant to get a third base at this time, because you meant to have warped in an extra 4 Stalkers. I mean, look how successful he's been anyway. If you already had the extra 4 Stalkers, Marine's in even more trouble. So, yeah, well, I will say Zoun just not the greatest to play just yet, but making it work for the moment. He does get HeroMarine supply blocked a little bit. We're not going to be seeing the Prism with the 4 Stalkers 7 up to our house again. I mean, you just opened up this natural expansion. You know, you took the bunker away from it. To me, this is the moment where you need to be starting making bigger plays with the higher Stalker count, right? This is where you've got openings now to actually make use of this. Instead, he's almost kind of, you know, the 4 Stalker drop usually happens when you're like, right, I can't possibly do any more damage now. I need to just kind of harass and find little openings. I just don't feel like that's where Zoun is already. Again, I feel kind of awkward, kind of doubting him a little bit, because I'm 100% sure Zoun is much better than me. But what he's doing right now just doesn't really quite add up. Excuse me, I'm sneezing. Ooh, apologies. I mean, the defense in the main is good, right? He did have a bunker here. I mean, it all comes down to the fact that you could have spiraled it out of control. And especially when HeroMarine opens with those Hellions in the medevac to be able to get damage done, it absolutely should open the door to get even more done. Prism on the left-hand side. Stalker's pulling back through the center. If HeroMarine's going to start going down as Stalker's going to blink back again, moving back up to the top side. First tank goes down already, so this is going to be where Zoun has to try and hold off this attack. And, well, he's got the 2 Colossi, but, I mean, the tank count is kind of crazy here, right? You've already got 4 tanks. If those Colossi walk in range of these siege tanks, they get obliterated. And once they are gone, you're in some serious trouble. Medevac here having a look to see what is up. If you want to tumble in like this, a couple of Zealots trying to catch some reinforcements as SCVs are coming across. Not sure if they were just trying to repair the tank or if they're actually going to be here to bunker up. Okay, there's some extra ones. Makes sense to get a couple bunkers up and really entrench this position onto Zoun's third base. Really make this a difficult position for Zoun to break into, and to break out of. He's going to go before the bunkers come up, but obviously it's fighting through a choke point, so it's not pretty. The tank target fire isn't really on Colossi or anything, though, so I feel like that could have maybe been a bit better for HeroMarine, but he still wins the fight. Goes about 20 army supply up after an even army supply on either side as we enter that battle. Tanks on siege, and it's probably the best chance Zoun's going to get to jump on this army, but just not seeing it, guys. I mean, the tank fire is good. The Colossus goes down. Not even in production. An Immortal. There's a lot of Marauders in the front line, but, I mean, there's still the 2 tanks. There's a good amount of Marines. The only thing is maybe is that obviously a pretty low HP on all these units. They could have been doing with an extra medevac or 2, but you do have now 2 Vikings, which are going to start going towards the Colossus, so Zoun is just going to continue to kind of lose out in this fight. And I will say once again, I mean, his opening led him to this point. He had opportunities, and did he take advantage of them? I don't think so. Zoun's going to have to... What? I know HeroMarine's on 2 bases. Is he dead? Is he dead? Does he just not have reinforcements? Am I crazy? Is this the worst casting of all time? He's up 20 army supply. He's up 20 army supply. He's got 3 Vikings. What? He's got 3 Vikings already here. A Colossus with which is low HP, the battery about to expire, no other battery energy. 2 tanks in position. Doesn't have a lot of Marine Marauder, but the age-old discussion of some people say that HeroMarine's dead. I don't disagree that HeroMarine is in... He's definitely in starting to get into trouble, but he has 2 tanks, Vikings, and a Bioforce to still try and fight a single Colossus and like 3 Stalkers and an Immortal. It's just crazy that you don't try and take the fight, because if he walks into the tanks with the Colossus, the game ends. I get it, guys. I'm a bad caster because, you know, I said something you'll disagree with, but like I can understand where Zoun has his leads. Like, I'm not 100% stupid, you know. I can see Zoun has 20 plus supply and HeroMarines, or 20 plus workers, and HeroMarines on only 2 bases. But with 2 tanks, Vikings, and 0 real defenses left for Zoun, I don't think you should leave the game. I know everything was low HP, but I don't even think you need to stim, man. Like, like your tanks are in range to shoot at the Colossus. You can kill the Colossus. Like, you've got Vikings with it. Like, you don't even need to stim. I don't know. Like I say, it's absolutely one of those fights where, you know, another 10 seconds could start to look completely different. Just feels like it's worth staying in for those 10 seconds or so in a scenario like that one, just to be like double checking, am I dead? Am I not? I don't know. Maybe if HeroMarine comes up as we get settled down into game number 3. They would have traded armies, he would have been way behind in economy. Well, it depends how they trade armies, right? Because if you trade armies and Zoun just doesn't have quite enough to clean up, you can shut down the 3rd base economy anyway. Like, he's right on top of the 3rd. Alright, Reaper comes back around. It's gonna see Twilight Council, Warp Gate coming through, Orbital Command, Starport on the way. I'm gonna see a couple Marines, extra Helene on the way out, and the Reaper from here, Marine gonna come back down the bottom right. And HeroMarine's just going to be making his way up beside the map. Put on a bit of pressure, man. Zoun's becoming very one-dimensional here. 4-gate blink for the 3rd game in a row. And here's Ramona side. I mean, it's one of the better maps for 4-gate blink. This one's going to be tough, though, because HeroMarine's got a tank on the way up already. So this time, HeroMarine's not going to put any damage to Zoun. So Zoun should be able to come across the map right away. But he's going to walk straight headfirst into a setup defense to deal with something just like this. Tank pops out, wants to siege up. Raven is on the way as well. Just going to be seeing second racks building too. As you just have our prism. And start taking these stalkers out across the bottom side. So moving off and away, the Raven is about to be done here from HeroMarine and just going to be seeing the siege tanks continue to build. So yeah, you show up and there's already 2 tanks. You need to make a play to get rid of a tank, right? If you don't get rid of a tank right now and the 3rd tank gets up, you're never going to do anything with this. He's going to start going to the front. Now he's going to blink in the main where there's going to be tank fire on auto turrets. He's going to get the Raven, which is at least a small victory this time around, so it takes that out of the game. Okay. Do you warp in more stalkers here? Because you can still blink on top of this siege tank. He's on 11 stalkers, which I believe is the one-shot potential for a tank. Blinks in, gets the tank. Saves a couple stalkers via the prism micro, so this time around he's doing a little bit better there. He didn't actually drop the stalkers down very quickly, though, so the stalkers could have been dropped back down a little sooner. Next tank is up, so you're still maintaining the 2 tanks, which is important because you can put 1 on the natural, 1 on the main. That's generally the tank count you want to stay at to hold this off here. Stalkers blink up again. That tank's very far back this time, which means that this mineral line is then exposed. So this is the problem with Ramanda's side. The main base is so large, it's very difficult to cover everything with those siege tanks. One depot cancelled, the other not, though, as Zoun backs up just to gain 3rd base on the way once more. Robobay is started before the 3rd this time around. One gets taken down, tank gonna get sieged up. A little bit of Marine Marauder just poking out the front as well, and we are gonna see these few stalkers continue to back away. This is the point where you're meant to lift up 4 stalkers and harass a little bit, right? You know, I think this stage is very safe to say this is kind of, you know, defended, but there's so much space in the main. This is absolutely where the 4 stalker harass can come in and still have a very good time. Okay, now a tank comes in to respect that, so I like that move. And Zoun on his way to that 3rd base, the Colossi coming through. He's just got to get ready to slow this army down. If HeroMarine wants to come across the map and try and put tanks sieged up on top of Zoun's 3rd, Zoun needs to be there and slowing this down to give himself as much time as possible to deal with that tank count. Observer taking a little bit of damage. Our Stalker's still hanging out over on the left-hand side. We do have Colossus +1 and Extended Thermal Lance. All continuing in right now as Zoun sits on the ramp with these Stalkers. Extra gates coming up, charge coming through. And we're just going to be seeing our Extended Thermal Lance just a few moments away from finishing here. A little bit of Bio comes forward and is able to pick off a Stalker on the ramp, so takes that down already. Well, these Stalkers are still meant to be kind of out here and doing their job, but now they're kind of pulling back, so... Oh, this is interesting. What's Zoun gonna... He's kind of put himself in a weird position, is all I'm thinking. Right? Tank sieges up in the center, a couple of them getting going, continuing to push up towards the top side. I mean, this is where Zoun maybe could have had just another couple of Marauders on the way across, right? And it's those little things that do add up, but let's see what his defense looks like. He's getting a couple of Archons in play. It's going to be terrifying. This is 6 siege tanks that can siege pretty much on top of your base. HeroMarine's actually already stimmed a lot, though, so he's actually kind of low HP. If he stims again, I mean, he's going to maintain that low HP. Tanks would not siege as Zoun jumps on this army, and I think HeroMarine's in some trouble. This time, I kind of agree with him leaving the game, because I think this fight continues to go in Zoun's favor heavily. So, HeroMarine still is on just 2 bases, and that's going to be Zoun winning out. So, this time I kind of agree with the GG. Yeah, I'm going to go back and look at that previous game, guys, at game number 2 quickly.